everybody. This is your girl, Racquel, with Candid Stories of My Soul. And I have another phenomenal guest that I've known forever and ever and ever and ever. Yes, her name is Melinda, and we will be back. She's going to introduce herself the way she wants to. Stay with us, and we'll be back for an amazing show. Much love and peace to all watching and or listening to Candid Stories of My Soul podcast with myself as the host, Racquel Shelby. From the moment we take our first breath and every experience that follows builds us up and creates the individuals we are today. In life, we will experience both the good and the bad because in order for balance to exist, both must coexist. There cannot be good without bad, nor can there be chaos without peace. We are souls experiencing humanity. The Creator is the author of it all. Whether we believe in a God source or not, He is within us all and is present at all times, embedded in us like our DNA. You will get to audibly witness many journeys of individuals as they are living, breathing, and ever-growing documentaries in the flesh. Many will attest to how the Creator was there, and many of these accounts will be mind-blowing. Please share with your family and friends and enjoy the message we have for you today. What's going on, Melinda? Introduce yourself. You might want to go by another name. That's how I know her, but what name you want to go by?
Melinda is fine. Melinda is fine. I have been studying other things, but I feel comfortable with you and Melinda.
Okay. Okay. So we have a history. I met you in middle school, and I want to say 6th grade. I don't remember the classroom. I kind of can visualize the seats and stuff like that, but I don't remember the details. And here we are. We ain't gonna tell our age, baby, but here we are some years later. So what's been going on since then?
A lot, actually. The journey of self, trying to find myself and figure out where I fit in the world. That's been crazy, but I've been enjoying it.
That's good. That's good. I mean, that's the way to go. And that's what I think. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up into life and take it so seriously. We forget to pause and enjoy and have gratitude, because I don't think life is just about hustle and bustle. I think we are here to enjoy it. And it has definitely, I feel, have become more complicated than it needs to be. And we have misconstrued a lot of things, in my opinion. So I've noticed a common theme since I've been doing Candid Stories. I've noticed that everybody that is super spiritual has had a kind of thrust point or a launching pad from religion. They've had heavily religious backgrounds one way or another, be a Jehovah's Witness, be a Baptist, be a Pentecostal, apostolic, whatever it might be. They have a heavy religious background. And with that being said, did you have a heavy religious background going off? And if so, can you tell me what that looks like?
Absolutely. Well, I'm first generation American. And my parents are from Jamaica. My whole family is Jamaican, but my father is a bishop. My mother is an evangelist. We grew up Pentecostal. My sister's a pastor. And I'm the baby in the family, but I was the one that always asked too many questions, you know? I even remember one day we were in Sunday school, and the Sunday school teacher started talking about the rapture and about how there will be a second bus, right? We were children, of course, so she was trying to explain, like, some people are going to go and then some people are going to be left behind, and, they're going to have another chance. And I got in so much trouble because I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna just catch the late bus. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I could stay back and have some fun and enjoy myself while all the religious people gone and still make it in, I'm gonna just take the late bus. I'm gonna take the second bus. And I remember I got in so much trouble and my dad was frustrated. But one thing I can say about him, he would always come back when he calmed down and we could talk about it. And when he came back to talk to me about it, he's like, you don't want to catch the second bus. And we went, down that. And at the end of it, my father told me, don't ask so many questions that you lose your faith. And I said, but Daddy, if the truth swims in water like oil, if the truth is always going to come out, why would I lose my faith if it's the truth? And he kept just repeating, like, don't ask so many questions, you lose your faith. And to me, that put a battery in my back. And I start asking more questions and more questions. I did go through a long time, years and years and years of being religious and going to different churches. But it just never, it connected. I remember crying and praying so much and wanting to feel the Holy Ghost and all of this. And it never happened to me. Or it did happen to me when I got older, but that's different under different circumstances. I just never felt it like everybody else. So I would study it and I would study people and it didn't add up. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't, the cognitive dissonance I see in certain people, I didn't want to do that. Where someone can come to you with definitive proof, like this is this, and I can show it to you here, and I can go back into this ancient text and show you here, and this is where they got it, and they can show you this. And in the back, I didn't want to be that person in the back of their mind with or everything with, but the Bible says, not that they're ignorant or stupid, their faith, I guess, was just stronger than mine. And I chose to find another way. I guess I'm still waiting on the second bus. I don't know.
So I want to dive into that. That don't ask so many questions that you lose your faith. I think what's interesting about that, and this is no disrespect to your father in no way, sometimes we say things and I feel like we're not analyzing what we're saying. Because when I hear that, I have to stay in a state of blindness, or I have to stay in a space of darkness or unclarity or ignorance, maybe is the better word, to even have faith. Because if I become enlightened, then I will realize that I don't need to be in this faith. And so, in as much as I feel that he said that because it was in divine order for him to respond in that way, to get you to respond in the way that you did, right? He played his part. I just find that to be a very interesting thing to say. You know what I mean? And
absolutely, but
go ahead. Go ahead.
When as you're talking, it's kind of bringing to mind, and I hope I don't offend anybody because my family is still in that faith. I am not. But it brings to mind Adam and Eve, right? And about how they were able to eat all of the fruit except the tree of knowledge. Okay, so you can live and you can be happy here. But if you eat this, your eyes will be opened. So in that moment, especially now with you talking, that's what it brings to mind is don't eat this, right? Because this is going to ruin this thing, this system that's set up for you. And I do believe that, like, I'm grateful that he said that to me because of the way because of the way my mind works. And you saying that to me, I may be quiet now, but I'm constantly chewing on that in the back of my mind and chewing on it and chewing on it. I'm the person that if it's a string on my sweater, I'm gonna pull it. I should burn it off. I should cut it. No, I'm gonna pull it. So I'm just pulling at that string and pulling at that string, and it just took me out of it because once you read it, it just doesn't ring the same for me. I found the same information, knowledge, and even higher knowledge in other systems, but it's, in my opinion, it's all the same thing. I just can't tie myself to it blindly. I don't live like that.
Lord have mercy. This interview is about to be deep. So we're going to get back on track. But, in this interview, I like to allow for conversation too, because I think that makes a good interview as well. I want to dive into the Adam and Eve scenario. And only thing I want to offer is why not question what, as we know, God to be the infinite intelligence that fuels everything, why would the infinite intelligence that fuels everything want you to be in the dark? And if you question that, then you might say, well, who was that God of the Bible? Because mind you, the God of the Bible says to not worship any other gods before me. So inadvertently, that God of the Bible was acknowledging that there are other gods, even though we are taught to believe that God is monolithic. Is that what it is, or singular? So I just wonder why these things, it doesn't spark questions in people's minds and why they follow so blindly. And another thing, why would energy, infinite intelligence, leave us a book? And in my opinion, any book that is written to a degree is channeled in some way. So it would make all books like the Bible, because it's up to people's interpretation and their views in their lens of life. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes. And yes. And also, all of my years of being in the church, I can recall one time where, and I call it now spirit, right? Where spirit spoke to me. We'll come back to that. Put a pin right there. I may forget, please remember. But back to the many gods. In Genesis, and I wish I had my Bible down here because I do still have my Bible and read it and use it. But in Genesis, chapter 1, don't let me get to lying about the verse. And God said, let us make man in our image, male and female. Let us, right? That in itself is admitting more than one, multiple. I believe that indoctrination and structure, let's say, structure is the reason why people blindly follow, okay? I believe that my connection to my creator needs, if a tree doesn't need a book on how to be a tree, if an ant doesn't need a book on how to be an ant, why do I need a book on how to be me? I don't. I gain more by sitting at the feet of elders who tell me, if you go here, this is a possibility. If you go here, this is the possibility. But let me tell you what happened to me, right? That's my Bible, okay? I have many women who right now I can say have been, I'm not going to say cast aside by society, but cast aside by the people that I grew up thinking knew everything, right? The women who were left behind, the witches, the Mambos, the Ugans, the Ifa priests. I learned more talking to them about life than I ever learned sitting in a church. And it's nothing against that, because that system helps a lot of people. So in speaking about it, I want to make sure that I'm very respectful. That system helps a lot of people who aren't ready to wake up yet. I think I just woke up too soon. I woke up sooner than everybody else. That system helps them, and that's fine. I learn more from people who've experienced life. I'd rather talk to you than read a book somebody else wrote, read somebody else's lineage, right? This person, the father of this person, that person, the father. No, I want to know about my father and his father. That's more important to me. Let me my Bible.
So we're gonna go deeper into that, this religious launching pad. Again, I think it's necessary. I think it's a part of your school, right? I just think that people stay stagnant in that. I'm gonna say, I'm so glad I'm
Can I touch on something really quickly? Something else that I was listening to a rabbi, because that's also my thing, jumping in and going into other faiths to see what they talk about, right? I went through a time where I was trying to learn Hebrew. I couldn't do it. But I was listening to a rabbi speak, and he said that he was fully convinced that when God put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and he said, eat all of this, but don't touch this, that he knew that the time would come where Eve would eat the apple and get Adam to do it as well. Again, not as a sinner. This is not the ultimate sin. It's like, no, when you're ready for your eyes to be open, it's going to be here, but don't touch it until you're ready, type of thing. And that honestly spoke more to me than God putting it there and expecting them not to touch it. Why? If I am to believe that God is all knowing, if I am to believe that I have free will, but God knows every choice I'm going to make before I choose it, God knows my thoughts before I think them, right? Then God knew she was going to get the apple. God knew that she was going to want that enlightenment, that information, that knowledge. If you knew that she was going to want that knowledge, my only question is humbly, because I don't want to offend nobody. Why put it there in the first place?
Of course. That's all of our questions that be thinking.
Yeah. It's there for a reason. So, and the same thing you can say, you have children. My son, I can bake cookies and I can put them on the counter and say, you gonna eat this broccoli. Don't touch the cookie. Don't. If I go upstairs, the cookie's gonna be gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know my baby. I know my baby. That's my child, right? That's me. That's me. When I was born, when I came out of my mother's womb, my baby was there with me, inside me. That's a piece of me. I know. So if God is the creator, you knew your baby before you put her there, before you put him there. You knew what they were gonna do.
That's it, and that's all. That is. So you said that Spirit spoke to you one time in the church.
Yes. I went through a time where doctors had told me I couldn't have children, that I would not have children. That they gave me the list of reasons, and I was so depressed about it. I was so sad about it. I didn't tell many people around the time, but I started going to a church close to here, and the preacher began preaching a message about Joseph and his brothers. And then he began talking about what the different names meant, what they represented. And then he retold the story, and instead of telling their names, he input the meanings, right? Which gave this. I wish I would have wrote it down. I actually did write it down. I have to find a journal from that year so I can find it. But and the preacher is dynamic. I would still go listen to him to this day because of the way that he breaks things down, right? But as he's talking, it almost I don't know if I have the words to describe how everything, okay, so everything in the room went still. I could still see him preaching, right? But in my mind, there was a voice there. And I heard the voice. It was not my voice. I know what my thoughts sound like. It was not my voice. And it told me, you're going to have a child. It's going to be a boy. And you're going to name him Judah. Right? And I'm sitting there like, word? And now, okay. But, I sat with it in that moment and I wrote it down in my journal that it happened. I went down for prayer. I want to say, it wasn't that week. It may have been 2 weeks after that. And the woman at the altar that prayed for me told me, confirmation. When Spirit gives you a message, it's always confirmation that comes. She said, she touched my stomach and she said, I speak life into you. It was somehow that she said it. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And she said something. At first she was saying the child that you will be given. Then she said the son. Confirmation. Told this woman nothing. Okay. Then I finally did get pregnant, but they kept telling me it was a girl. It's a girl. It's a girl. It's a girl. I'm like, nah. It's not. You know, I know what I was told. I know what I was told. And it was something that they could not shake me out of. I'm like, nah, nah, you know, whatever. Okay, you want me to take the vitamins? I'll take the vitamins. You know, just tell me the baby is okay. It was even a point in time where they told me, like, you might want to think about terminating the pregnancy because it's not going to be viable. And I'm like, nah, because I know what I heard, you know, and I didn't want to tell them I know what I heard, because next thing you know, they might have strapped me into a room, a padded room with a vest on, you know. But I knew I stand on it to this day, right? If I ever hear that voice again, I'll be able to say that was the voice I heard, you know. And I chose to go through with it. And it was a hard pregnancy because I bled the whole I bled up and through maybe my second trimester.
Mm.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too graphic, but it was scary. It was scary. I would shower and cry because in my mind I was just waiting, and I would go to my mother's house and I would sit in one of the chairs in one of the rooms in the back in the dark and just cry and sob because at that time what I would say was God put something in me, right? I'm supposed to be the vessel for this child to come. I am never going to do anything that puts me in position to put this, you know, seed at risk. But emotionally, it was heavy. Okay. It was heavy. And when I was pregnant, I don't remember him doing much movement. He was chill. It was wild. I didn't get sick. I threw up once. It was just, I don't know. I didn't want to get attached to it. My best friend tried to throw me a baby shower. I canceled it because in my mind, I didn't know day to day if the child was going to be here, and I didn't want to have a house full of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It, you know, it's too much, and I just wanted to make it. And I remember my last ultrasound, my mother went with me, and they kept saying, "It's a girl, it's a girl, it's a girl." And I remember my mom looking at the screen, and she was like, "Well, she got a penis." And we looked at the screen and the lady was like, "Oh, it is a boy." And my mother was so excited. "Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh my goodness." And in the back of my mind, I'm chill because I knew that already, you know? And that was the first time. I still never told my mother that story. One of the first books I bought from my son, I had them put that on the first page about the time that the spirit spoke to me and gave me your name. And it's so crazy because when my son was about 2 years old, I know I'm rambling on, but when
You're
my son
good.
was about 2 years old, he told me I yelled at him for something. And in his 2-year-old way, I don't remember exactly the wording, but basically he told me that when you yell at me, it hurts my feelings. And I didn't ask to be here. God told me I had to come to you. And it threw me back like, all right, son, you know, because the babies is closer to the ancestors than we are. They just left the other side, you know. And that was my first time actually experiencing the spirit, but never in church. I done seen people catch the Holy Ghost and run circles around the church and fall out and get slain and speak in tongues. I grew up Pentecostal, okay.
Me too.
I done seen it, okay. I never felt it. And for me, it looked overwhelming. And in a lot of situations, it looked painful. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. People screaming and running around and all of that. My experience was calm though. It was calm. It fit what I needed at that time. And it didn't scare me where I would watch other people, almost like science projects, like, "Ooh, I know sister such and such gonna fall out this week," you know, like taking notes, you know. It wasn't like that for me. It was calm. It didn't need the hoopla. I didn't need an audience inside my mind. It was personal. I mean, that spoke more to me than anything. And not too long after that, I did leave the church though.
I think that the religious spirit is real. And I think that, because the mind is powerful and we see this year after year or generation after generation, people hooping and hollering and falling out. This is what people do. And they collect, or that religious spirit is activated, and they think that that's what's supposed to be. I think it's very interesting that you said your son said to you that he did not ask to be here, but yet God told him he needed to come for you. And the reason why I brought that up, and wanted to kind of focus on that is because we were told that we choose to come here. It is in our soul contract to choose to come here. So I don't know if to interpret that to say he was told, but he still it had to make the final decision by saying, "Okay, I will go," and maybe we should leave it at that. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
I find it interesting, and I too am a believer that you not necessarily choose, you know. I do believe that some people choose to come here. I believe that some people are stuck in a loop, right? And I believe that in other cases, no, I think those are the only two cases. Honestly, I had to think about that. I do believe at the end, though, you have a choice. So in him saying that, I'm sorry, let me pull back. I also believe that me, you, this cup, this candle, water, all of it is God collectively working together. So in him saying, like, God told me I had to come to you, in some world can also be interpreted as that's what I needed, right? And God gave that to me. God being a piece of me, a piece of you, a piece of the everything, a piece of the all, the source. So in him saying that, and he was also 2 years old, he used the language that he understood at the time. So do I think that he had a choice in the matter? Yes. Do I think that he was what I needed? Yes. And I hope that that doesn't make me sound narcissistic or, anything. I did need that. I did need to. My family loves me. Okay. They love me. They know I'm different. I don't lie to my family about anything I do. My family loves me, but I struggle with emotional things. The love that I experience from my family is totally different from the love I experience from my son. My son has taught me more in 8 years about love than I ever knew. So much so that I call my mother sometimes just to apologize to her about stuff, just to tell her I love her, because it's just different. And I did need that. Like, I was struggling with depression. I was struggling with a lot of things. And it didn't end at that point, but that was the beginning of getting it right. Because now I'm not just living for me, I'm living for somebody else. He taught me something about love, and yes, I do believe he had a choice. But
That is amazing. That is really amazing. And actually, I think everything that you're bringing up really needs to be heard because somebody needs to hear this. And I will concur. One of my children, I want to say it was London, that told me that she picked me as a mom or whatever. But when I asked her to repeat it, it was like she was kind of like in this daze talking to me. But when I asked her to repeat it, she didn't remember. So I thought that'd be interesting. So, for the sake of the audience, I have interviewed psychic mediums, tarot readers, former pastors, have people talk about near death experiences. A lot of psychics, mediums, a lot of that. If you had to put a title on what you categorize yourself just for descriptive purposes, because I know sometimes titles can't necessarily narrow it down, but just so people can understand, what would you say that you are?
I don't want this to sound corny. Somebody else asked me this question not too long ago. And I just said the answer is I am. Right? I am. Because I feel like all of us have the ability to do the things that I do, right? I can teach someone symbols. I can teach someone how to look at a card and read it. But the connection to source is what brings the message. Am I a tarot reader? I read tarot. I am. Am I a witch? What is a witch? Right? What is that? Let's study the etymology of that word. What does it mean? And if you go back into that, I am. Am I a psychic? I am. Right? It's not something that I fully controlled. A lot of the things that I've dreamt about and I dream about, I have a few people in my life that I know a dream that I'm supposed to pay attention to is certain markers. And I'll wake up and I'll tell somebody, just because I know that moment is gonna come where they be like, Melinda, you just had that dream. You know what I'm saying? I am. Am I a dreamer? I am. Am I an astrologer? I am. All of these things, but I don't feel like I'm any different from any person who's watching this right now. Do you want to know that piece of yourself? And if you want to know that piece of yourself, you are too, you know? So I don't feel like I don't want to put a title on it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, I am. I am.
So, do you consider yourself the black sheep of your family?
Yes. Gladly,
Okay.
proudly wear it with a badge.
So, at what point in your family's dynamic did you realize that you were the black sheep?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that my family is first generation American. My family is from Jamaica. And people have heard, I'm sure by now, rumors and all types of stuff about how Jamaicans feel about like homosexuality. I do not agree with, in a nutshell, there is a pushback. You know what I'm saying? There is a part of that upbringing that does turn its back on that. But when I found myself when I was younger attracted to women, that's when I knew, like, okay, I ain't like them. And with the church thing, I'm not like them. It was multiple times in my life where I'm just like, I'm not like them. And I remember when my father found out that at the time I had a girlfriend, I was still in high school. And once he came down off of, he wasn't even angry, but he just wanted to calm down and we had to talk about it, you know? Um, my father told me that he realized that I was different, but he wanted me to know that he loved me, you know? That's when I knew that I was not like them. And that's when I want to say I started experiencing like an unconditional love from my father, even because to know that his culture frowns down upon something so hard and for him to rock with me, like it was crazy. I couldn't bring my girlfriend over or nothing like that. I would never disrespect my parents like that because again, it's something that they don't believe in. But that's kind of when I knew like I'm not like them and I should stop trying to be like them because it's uncomfortable trying to fit into somebody else's idea of who or what you should be. Like I would rather take that time to find out who I am than be comfortable trying to be what you want me to be, type of thing. But that's around the time that I knew I began seeing like, I'm not like them.
So, how was that process of living out loud in that way? Like, how did you get the courage to do that?
In the beginning, I can't say I was courageous. I can't. In the beginning, I was curious, not courageous. And a lesson my father taught me as a child, don't do anything that you're ashamed of. Because if you're ashamed of it, you shouldn't do it. Right. And I met some of the most wonderful people, you know. But I can honestly say, like, once my parents found out, I ain't care about nobody else. Like, they still love me. I don't care about nobody else, you know. It was kind of that. It was being able to accept myself. I didn't really put much weight on other people accepting me, you know. Even now I don't live my life like other people. You walk in my house, you're gonna see candles burning, you're gonna see all types of stuff. You don't have to like it, you know. You're gonna go somewhere before the ancestors go somewhere, so exit stage left. I'm grateful to my father though, because even though he didn't understand or believe, he loved me through his lack of understanding. And I just don't care about what anybody else thinks. No, that sounds awful.
Oh, it doesn't.
Okay. Yeah, it's like my daddy and my mama love me. You know, my sisters love me. I don't care about anybody else.
That's all that matters. I think what's interesting too is sexually fluid kids, which will in turn become adults, they tend to come through bloodlines that are rigid in their beliefs, to make it simple. And I really think it's to teach them a lesson, to broaden their understanding of things. It's an amazing thing. It really is. And I know it's hard for the people that are going through it, but we got to stop being so judgmental. We do. You know, this is about love, and all of us is an expression of source. And these belief systems only grow to give us, that's our reason for so much conflict on this planet, is because we want to put people in a box where we feel comfortable having them in. And we're so much more than that. And I also, your body determines your gender or sex. If you don't have a body, then what are you? You're just fluid, you know? I mean, because we all embody masculine and feminine energy. I think the difference comes in your meat suit and what is more pronounced. Is the testosterone more pronounced, or is the shit, now why the fuck I forget ours? What what is
Estrogen.
this shit? What is it? Let me see. Estrogen.
Estrogen, yeah.
More pronounced. And I also kind of believe too that some gays that are here have incarnated. I sometimes believe they have been female for so long. When they jump into the male body, they might have a hard time adjusting. But either way, whatever the reason is, if it's nothing but the boom bam, I'm gonna show you motherfuckers, you know.
I
I'm
actually
okay
know that
with it.
I've lived lives as a man. My 35th birthday, I had never done mushrooms before. And I started spending a lot of time just meeting people, and I bumped into a lot of people who use mushrooms not to get high, right, but to have spiritual connections. And I started hearing the stories, and I wanted to experience it for myself, right? So for my 35th birthday, I did what they call an ego death. Had never taken mushrooms before and jumped out there with 7 grams. And let me tell you,
7 grams.
that's what they
Girl,
call the
okay.
ego death, 7 grams. Um, it it was very interesting. But it showed me a lot in that time. As a matter of fact, sometimes, because it's about 8 hours that you go through it. And I had what they call a gatekeeper, someone who sat with me and recorded the time. And it was because she said if I had any questions about anything that I said, or I wanted to ever go back and listen to it again, I would have it, right? But there was a time where I went to sleep. And in that nap, I was shown myself in different lives. And I was shown the energy or the peace of God, let me say, that inhabits my mother's flesh, my father, my siblings. And it showed me that we keep choosing each other, right? But there was a lifetime where I was the father, right? There's been a lifetime where I was the brother. There's been a lifetime where they weren't there, you know, and it was different energies. And my son's father in this life, who he is in this life, was there, but I was the man and he was the woman. Um, I've lived I've lived a few lives, you know, as a man. I've also done a past life regression. Maybe has it been 2 years, with a wonderful woman. Her name is Ia. And do you know what a past life regression is?
Yes, I had one done.
Ooh. And when she took me through and I was going through, and it was powerful because, you know, it's hypnosis. They walk you through and then you can access your Akashic records. But it showed me how many lives I had lived. It showed me my purpose for coming here this time. And it also showed me different, like I got to peek into different lives that I've had and actually see them play out and see in one of them I remember being in a castle almost, and I was Black, but I had red hair. And I had on a beautiful white dress, and it was embroidered in gold. And I was, sitting high, corset on, uncomfortable. But everyone around me who was serving me was white, Caucasian. And the person whose home it was Caucasian. So I kept saying, like, this is not my home. Like, this is not my house. And I was confused. The whole time I was confused. This is not my house. This is not my house. Cut to like 6 months later, I met a woman on Facebook through a mutual friend, and she was giving past life readings, and she started explaining. I never told her that I saw this. She started explaining to me, in another life, my father was killed he went to war for somebody, a nobleman or whoever it was. I don't even remember the language that she used, but she said, and out of the guilt of your father being killed, that family took you in, but they had money. And she's like, yeah, in that life, I can see you with your red hair. Like, the way she's talking, she's telling me about this thing that I saw 6 months prior, confirmation. But in that past life regression, I saw lives where I was a man. So again, the meat suit is just the vehicle, right? I was just driving a journey, and now I'm driving something else. This is just the vehicle that contains the spirit. This the jail. My dad used to say that. This is the jail that holds the spirit in, It just sometimes gives people penises, and sometimes gives us vaginas,
Message and a title all in one. Yeah, that's amazing. So there is a time we all awaken. Well, when did your awakening occur, and how was that like?
Okay, so I've always had dreams. I've always there's a woman, and because I don't want to out anybody in my family, but I come from a family of people with gifts, okay? One of my siblings, I believe, is a death doula, right? People who are close to us, when they die, they come to her first in her sleep. So my aunt, when she was alive, you could tell her your dreams and she could give you your lottery numbers, or, she just would know things. She had a knowing. But again, they attribute a lot of that to God and Jesus and everything like that. I've always known and believed that there was something else. But the real awakening for me happened where I actually put time into studying it. I used to, I've always had a job, always. I'm always working. I always have good jobs. And the pandemic made me sit still. It forced me to sit still, right? And in that time of me sitting still, my sister and I got into a very bad car accident. So now I'm not only isolated in my home, I'm isolated in my bed, okay? And I remember I was just getting drunk for a while, because I'm like, what is my life coming to? Like, what am I gonna do? And I believe the first video might have been a Bobby Hemmett video. And he was talking, and what he was saying just made sense. And then I watched the video maybe 2 or 3 times. And then I remember grabbing a notebook and taking notes. Not taking notes so that I could make his ideas my own, taking notes because I wanted to go back and study what he said. Sitting still, forced it. A few months before the pandemic, I had a dream that there were lines and lines, like millions and millions and millions of just Black people giving their documentation back to the government, birth certificates, social security cards, just giving it back and walking away. And I did not know what that meant. Let me not say the government, to systems. They were giving back their ties to systems, right? And there were even people in that line that were handing Bibles back, like, here. Yeah. But I didn't understand what it meant. And then I just it was other things too that happened in that dream. I'm gonna leave that alone. But it was in that. And then it was something that he said in the video. You about to make me go through my old journals, but it was something that he said in the video, and it's just again pulling at that string. And it just started making sense. And I remembered how bad witches were talked about. Witches, and oh, she's a witch. She's a witch. So now I was like, I'm about to find a witch and I'm going to talk to her. And mid-pandemic, I wanted to find a Black-owned metaphysical store. I didn't want something commercial. I wanted something like where I could actually go in there and learn some shit, you know? And I found the Motown Witch. And I used to go in there. I forced her to like me. I swear I did. I used to go in there with my notebook, and it started out with herbs, where I would ask her, what's that herb for? Well, what's that herb for? What's that for? How you use that? And it got to the point where she used to just write the stuff on the bottle, and then she'd be like, girl, come back here and write that shit down yourself, you know? And I would just go and just study it and study it. And I remember my first spell. I don't want to scare nobody, but I remember the first thing I did, the first thing I turned in my favor. Let me say that. And I remember seeing my power manifest so quickly. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, my mind was blown. I'm like, I need to know more about this. And then it turned into the crystals. And then I start going back to astrology, just everything that I was told not to fuck with. I started asking the questions. Why was I told not to fuck with this? Okay. What the person who told me not to fuck with this, what was their agenda? What did they want me to fuck with? Now let me go back and read it. Harry Potter. I started going back and reading my Harry Potter books. You know what I'm saying? Like just everything that I was told not to do, I tugged at those strings. And it was a process. It was a process that I honestly believe started when I was a kid, because not having the previous experiences I had, I could have never ended up in the spot that I was in to begin to question everything. And it all fell apart at the seams. And I learned more, like I said, sitting at the feet of elders, sitting through her classes, going up there asking questions about herbs, understanding the metaphysics and the science behind burning candles, and having an ancestor altar and what that means, the importance of my family Bible, you know, and actually putting my lineage there, you know, not just for me, but for the people who come after me. I have a son. When he has children and they have children, they have children, who knows where they'll be. The dream that I had might come manifest, people giving their documentation back and then them needing to trace their lineage, just all of these things. So if I honestly say, how did that awakening happen? I think it started when I was a kid. It just went into overdrive when I was forced to sit still.
So that's dope. You articulate these things so well. I want to get into this. You brought up Harry Potter, which made me come up with this title. The era of Harry Potter under attack in the church. And the reason why that came to me, because I remember being in church. And like you, I have a Pentecostal apostolic background. And in this church, you know, they were very heavy on the prophetic and stuff like that. Well, this woman, I want to say this was like a Bible study night. And she had a daughter. And she said her daughter was reading Harry Potter books, right? And she said because her daughter kept reading these books, it brought on the spirit of a poltergeist in her home. Okay. Yes. So next thing I know, I want to say this was happening to the mother, but I'm not clear on this, but I'm clear as to what happened. I remember the minister praying against it, speaking in tongues, somebody gagging the demons up, and all of this kind of mess. And so I just wanted to bring that to the forefront because you had said that you were told not to read the Harry Potter books in a roundabout way. Is there something that you can expound on when it comes to that, or is that just very brief?
So I can a little bit. I remember in the same way that now hip hop is being demonized, right? I remember the books being demonized. I remember people saying like, oh, the book has real spells in it. So do the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like the story in itself, if people actually go read the story, it's a Jesus story retold in the same way that the Jesus story is the Osiris Osset, that story retold. It's just another, the same way that the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is just that story retold. I believe that that's willful ignorance, and I don't mean ignorance to say that these people are stupid. No, there's things that we're all ignorant about. I can't tell you how many times a day I ask people a question and I preface that question by saying, pardon my ignorance, right? Because I never want my ego to get so big, right, that I feel like I know everything. No. There are things that I'm ignorant about. I believe that that's willful ignorance. The fact that you can demonize something that you yourself have never picked up and read, to me, speaks to why certain people's faith was bigger than mine. I remember even a family member specifically, again, saying you shouldn't read that book because reading that book is going to have spirits. It's a gateway for spirits to be able to enter your home. So is a fucking mirror. You know what I'm saying? And when I went and asked this specific family member, have you ever read the book? No, but such and such said, but have you ever read the book? The book is actually beautifully written, so much so to the point that my son is reading them now. And when he has questions about things, we talk about it. I don't lie to him. I do put things in language that I believe he will understand. And I do understand that there are certain things that are not meant for him to understand now, right? In the same way that you can read a book this year and you get this message from it. And in 2 years, when you pick it up again, you be like, oh my goodness, I don't even remember, or I didn't even know. It's like that. I want that to be that for him. But that story is really about integrity, right? And it's about the differences in people. And it's about watching these little children grow up. Harry had to go through, I'm not gonna go all through the book, but he had to go through number one, he was chosen. He was supposed to live, right? His mother gave the ultimate sacrifice to save his life, right? Instead of sacrificing the child, as it is in biblical text, the parents sacrificed themselves. And that act of love is why he was able to live, number one. Number two, he had to live because he had a purpose, right? And then another deep thing about that book, if there's anybody else out there who's ever read the books, I find it so funny that there was a piece of the Dark One inside of Harry. And that is the reason why he who shall not be named couldn't kill him, right? Because he too was what they call it, a Horcrux, right? I feel like that is the reason why God never killed the devil, because it's just a piece of him. You understand what I'm saying? So again, it's just coming up with parallels in the book. But again, if you can read something that would make you feel powerful enough to try something yourself, if you could read something that would open up a piece of your brain and touch your imagination, right, in a spot that will make you feel like a powerful wizard, you're harder to control, right? So this ideology, these ideas are demonized when, in all honesty, like, it's just a very good kids book that teaches you to have integrity, right? Even if you go into the mythical animals that she named in the book, actually go one day when you're bored enough, write down the names of the animals in the book and then write down what that animal represents. And then you'll see what she was doing with that book, right? It's ignorance. Willful ignorance is what allows people to hear something, be told something, and not ask a question about it.
So it takes me back to this whole thing about religion being a good launching board for spiritualists, but also when you, if it's not causing you to do it like you to think and pull the string, as you would say, then it just becomes, in a lot of ways, in my opinion, and this might offend some people, dangerous, because religion is a good soldier for the powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
It's and ministers are the foot soldiers. And I really get so conflicted about it, because if you haven't went to seminary school and you're preaching, I think that's harmful. And if you went to seminary school and you still decide to preach, that's also harmful, because
Correct.
you know better, and you know that you are preaching indoctrination and bullshit. You know that you are manipulating when you get on that pulpit. And if you can still do that, that is a problem. And the reason why I have come to that conclusion is because my bachelor's degree I received from Rochester College. And Rochester College is a Christian like school, let's say that. And so we had to take a couple classes, like couple Bible classes. It was mandatory for our curriculum. And the way that the information was presented, just off the two classes I took, I realized how they didn't come out and say this is indoctrination. It was just the way the information was presented. So if I only took 2 classes and was able to realize, okay, what was up, how can you then go through seminary school and still get behind the pulpit? So,
I have family members, right, who went to seminary school, okay? My niece one day, my niece, she's an Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius, she's an Aquarius. So we connect a lot and we understand each other, right? But my baby asked me, she said, have you ever asked yourself why so many Black people go to seminary school and drop out? Then I start adding up the numbers. I'm like, dang. I'm gonna start asking people, like, you went to seminary school, you stopped going, like, why you stopped going? She was like, just start asking. And my baby, my niece was born when I was 13, okay? Um, Again, talking to her, she was like, have you ever wondered why so many of them go to school and drop out? It's crazy because when you ask some of them, they'll tell you, right? It's certain things that they learned that they could never preach because they would lose members because they're not ready to know the truth. I can say, do I think that it's dangerous? Yes. But do I think that some people need that structural system? Yes. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, you know? In the church, they used to say that when we were younger, you remember that movie Left Behind?
yes.
Okay. What am I bringing that up for? Not everybody gonna make it in. You know what I'm saying? Everybody not gonna make it in. It's just crazy to me that in the end, I wonder if the people who are going around trying to make sure everybody make it in, not gonna be the ones who make it in. Because in order to make it in order to even understand that system fully, you have to be able to back away and 1, have the conversation, 2, have it without emotion. You know what I'm saying? And the thing that ties them to that is the emotion. It's the feeling. It makes them feel good to congregate, to get together. Is there a spirit that goes through that? Yes. Yes, there is, right? Is there knowledge in that book? Yes. Has it been manipulated? Yes. Study. You know what I'm saying? Study. But it makes them feel good. Right? I can go to my mother and I have theological debates all the time. Okay. And now I'll be frustrated, but I keep going back for more. I keep going back for more. Right. But I feel like it sharpens my pen. Right. It sharpens my brain, my sword. Right. It sharpens me here. And it doesn't allow me to just believe something without being able to put some meat behind that. I believe that because of this. I've heard so many Christians say, I choose to believe this, as long as you know that that's your choice, right? You're choosing to not understand that the pastor could be telling you something else, and they're choosing not to. You know, do I think it's dangerous? Yes. Do I feel like without religion, people would be running amok? People running amok now with it. So to use that as an excuse, I think is ignorance, right? And I'm not saying they stupid. I'm just saying ignorance is a lack of knowledge about something. I feel like it's ignorant, and I feel like it's comfortable for them to sit in that ignorance. How many times have you learned something and you wanted to share it with people and people don't want to know? Why? Because ignorance is comfortable. It's bliss. They say that for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who am I to take you out of your big comfy, your comfy security blanket? That's not my job. My
Nope.
job is to just be here when you want to reason about it, when you want to ask real questions, and they don't want to. Do I think it's political? The Bible is absolutely political. Read it, right? Jesus went against the system. He got murdered by the government, right?
Hello.
Deadly the same government who giving you this book, but that's a whole nother can of worms. The book is very political, right? And it's about money.
And people love chaos. People love chaos, and chaos is a necessary element in this whole existence. Because when they were asked, do you want Jesus or do you want Barabbas? They wanted Barabbas. And I think that speaks more to, I think it's deeper than even what is being said. People want chaos. To clarify what I'm saying of what they want chaos, look at the stuff that people want now, the stuff that they prefer. If you got some drama going on, they'll watch it all day. You talking about something that's deep, it's very few people that are going to tune in and tap in, especially when it comes to our people. And it's a lot of intelligent ones of us, but just to the forefront of what you see, we like a lot of drama.
Mm-hmm.
We like, and I think because we're used to it, it's like being at home. We're used to the chaos, confusion, and dysfunction. But that's just really what's going on. And I think that, like you said, religion, some people do need it, but you're right. Like, for one, with clarity and the truth and clarity compels. And when we're living in our truth and in empowerment, that means that a lot of stuff that is going on today would cease to exist. It wouldn't be necessary. So it's working against capitalism to be empowered and informed. So we got to keep people in a blind eye. But what I can't understand is, why do people want to believe in a vengeful God? Now, my theory on that is, if they believe that God is all love and really is indifferent to things that going on, we're just living the experience and we're growing from it, then that would suggest that the person that has done me wrong gets off. And I need the person that has done me wrong to be held accountable. So I need God to be vengeance. I need a hero. And we have a hero complex in the United Snakes of America. So this concept of God that we have adopted, what we really are saying is, I feel powerless and I need a supernatural hitman for my plight because I can't do it. And so that's my thoughts on that. This is a deep interview, don't you think?
It is. We both knew that it was gonna get here. We knew it. It's crazy to me though that people, and after this, like we can go on to whatever is next, right? But in people saying that, oh, God is love. Have you read the Old Testament? You know what I'm saying? Like, have you the whole killing babies thing? And yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Unless all these different faces of God that were given in that one book, unless that's about different gods and they put it together and made you worship it as one. I also find it interesting that before Jesus was sacrificed, which again, because I don't want to offend people, I don't want to get into the whole Jesus thing. I just got questions,
Mm-hmm.
because I could never sacrifice my child. I couldn't, right? But again, they say for God so loved the world. But before Jesus was sacrificed, right? Animals were sacrificed, right? If you go into animal sacrifice, and again, I won't go into that like fully. I find it funny that when now in this day and age, we don't go by what do they call it the Pentateuch? I don't remember what they call the first couple books of the Bible, right? But it's basically the law, the Torah. Doesn't Torah mean the law? Okay.
Don't give me a line.
You have to make me pull it because again, when I get bored enough, I read stuff and I write down questions. And, when we stopped as a people, stopped following that law. If I'm to believe that this is the law, let me start there. If I'm to believe that this is the law, when we stopped following that law, it was because Jesus was sacrificed, right? And it still hasn't fixed the shit going wrong in the world, right? The church is still here. The church is stronger than ever. The church is making so much money. You can cut on your TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can find somebody's service. You can find somebody's church. You can find somewhere to send an offering to. You can find, they can direct debit your shit. Okay. Some of these churches, right? The church is thriving. And as you said, that it's thriving in conjunction with what you call the United Snakes of America. I wonder what would happen if people stopped worshiping the child, the man that was sacrificed, and went back to the indigenous practice of animals being sacrificed. I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen when people stop, or if people stop worshiping the lineage of a man that they're not related to, and then started studying their own and started not necessarily worshiping, right? What I do with my ancestors is not worship, it's service, right? And if they started servicing their own ancestors, if they started remembering their ancestors' birthdays, if they started, I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen if they just disconnected. And I honestly think that we're going to see a mass disconnection. I think it started already and I'm excited, but I wonder what would happen if the people who are choosing to be stuck in that actually, I wonder.
Ooh-wee. Well, let's get on a ride for a minute.
Okay.
If we took a family member, let's say a family member was drug out in the street. We won't say family member. Let's say a black man was drug out in the street. And white people beat him, hung him, whatever. And it was witnessed all abroad. Will we celebrate the murder of that man? Because essentially that's what we do. We celebrate the murder of somebody. We call it sacrifice. That's a way for you to look at it in a positive way. But no, it's a murder. The man was murdered. See, let's go ahead and talk about it. I'm getting chills now. Okay, this man was murdered, and we congregate yearly to celebrate the murder of a man, of our brother, by the hands of people that aren't our brother. You see how sick it is and how sleep we have become, and that we continue to perpetuate these things and call it a blessings, and we sit up and we go through this ritual of murder, and we give it our energy with our tears and our worship and our celebration. Come on, let's talk about it, because y'all got a problem with rituals. Y'all got a problem with magic, but you are willingly, under the label of religion, celebrating your own form of witchcraft in the way that you label it, in a negative light, right? Because witchcraft is not evil per se. That's what we have leveled, but we're going to talk in your terms of understanding. This is what you celebrate. Then, if I was to give you the blood of a man and the flesh of a man and ask you to eat it and drink it, you would think I was crazy and call me a cannibalist. But yet we sit up and we do this in reverence of a belief system. I want you to make it make sense. I know you can't, and I know it makes you mad. I know you're sitting in your chair and you are fighting it and you are mad. You want to throw a piece of paper at the screen, baby, but this is reality. You got to think. And today, my God, we're going to force you to think on this broadcast, okay? Share it with your family.
See, I was trying not to touch on the ritual. You get what I'm saying? I was trying not to. I was getting close and I kept pulling back, you know. But it's facts. That's facts. If you go back and you read the scripture that people used to read when they would do Holy Communion. If you, and again, this is not verbatim, but eat of my flesh, drink of my blood. Word, son, I'm good. I'm good, you know. But then even further, it says, and if you do that unwillingly, right, you're taking damnation. It's like, read that shit, son. Like, I stopped taking communion years before I left the church, right? Because I started wondering, like, yo, I wonder if that's why I'm sickly, right? Because according to this book, I ain't right. I believe it. And out of the tradition that I was raised in, out of my own indoctrination, the piece of the box that I chose to be stuck in, I still go, I stopped taking it. It's just weird to me, right? That they don't look at that as cannibalism. But then they'll go to an indigenous tribe, right? And then look at them, wow, because they sacrifice an animal. What religion has done is million times more barbaric than what that indigenous tribe has done. When I was younger, I used to want to be, not even younger, like a kid. This is like maybe 5 years ago. I wanted to go into anthropology. And then I started looking into anthropology and I'm like, no, that's not for me, son. Cause nah, but I wanted to go and live with a mambo for a year, a voodoo priestess. Why? Because they held on to the practice that the ancestors did before we lost the war with the people who indoctrinated us, right? They held on to the practice. They did. And in those cultures, when an animal is sacrificed, the animal not just killed and then tossed to the side of the road. No, the animal is treated with reverence and respect, okay? A lot of times in a lot of cultures, that animal is used to feed the community. Like it's not a barbaric thing. But then when you go back to religion, and I can only speak to Christianity because that's the one I was indoctrinated in the longest. We are celebrating the murder of this man. It's not technically his flesh. It's crackers and grape juice or wine if your church was feeling real freaky, you know. But we are going through and ritually, this is something that's done over and over and it's a ritual, right? We're binding ourselves to this thing over and this thing that we don't even understand. Start studying the language. I started Googling one of my favorite words. What is the etymology of this word? It will blow your mind. I know a person who does not truly read their Bible because they're still Christians. You don't read it. It make you feel good for pastor to sit up there and speak life into you. It make you feel good for the pastor to say it's a blessing on your road, right? Instead of understanding Mother Nature. Instead of understanding the God in you and around you, you'd rather go to somebody else and let them tell you. And again, if that speaks to you, I want you to be happy. What you eat don't make me shit. So if that's what you choose to eat, and if you choose to eat this nigga flesh who they killed, and these are the same people who then gave you that book, think about that. That was an ancient text. It was. That does have ancient knowledge in it. It does. How do I know that? My very first spell on the back end, I wrote Isaiah 55:11. And let me tell you, Racquel, when I say that is the most powerful spell book I own is the Bible, okay? Read it. Go through and read it times. It's some real gang shit going on in the Bible, okay? But that makes them feel good. And if that makes you feel good, it's not my job to wake you up. Who's meant for me to talk to will find me. and we can talk and we can reason. I'm not gonna argue with you about your Jesus because your Jesus make you feel good. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna. They do the same thing with slavery, but let's not even go there. Not even taking into consideration that what they're doing is mentally enslaving themselves. Like it's not meant for me to wake you up. It's meant for you to see that string and pull it yourself. And when you start asking the questions, when you start really wanting the answers, when it makes you uncomfortable to sit there and be lied to, you'll get up and you'll start looking for the answers yourself. I
Oh, for
couldn't do
sure.
it. I couldn't do it, baby. I couldn't do it. Study them words. Start looking up. When I found out that a virgin, right, there are many immaculate conceptions on record. Hear me when I say there are many immaculate conceptions on record. But everyone who has a Bible, I implore you to go get a concordance. I'm trying to see where my a Strong's concordance. It's too high up right now, or else I would grab it. Okay, go get you a Strong's concordance. A virgin, Mary was not a virgin, and she didn't have sex with no. Mary was fucking, and she was a kid. Okay, let's not talk about the pedophilia. Okay, it's giving Epstein. You feel me? Let's not even go there. But a virgin is just an unmarried woman. I wasn't married when I had my son. That's a virgin birth, according to, go study these words. It will blow your mind. It will make you. The last one I'll give is in Luke, and I wish I could tell the exact verse. But Jesus himself said, "Did I not tell you that you are gods?" I wish that people start speaking to the God in them, not the one that was mistranslated in books. Anytime man touches something, it's going to be ruined. Okay, that is the flaw of this meat suit, is that it's not perfect. Anything we touch, we are going to fuck up. Okay, anything.
You're gonna distort it. Yep, it's gonna be
We're gonna.
distorted for sure.
That's human nature. Okay, play the telephone game. I tell you something, you whisper it to them, you whisper it to them. It's gonna get fucked up, but it's gonna get even more fucked up when you write it down, and then you let somebody else write it down. You let somebody else write it down. You let some. Stop speaking to that God and speak to the God in you. Start listening to the messages that God in you gives you about you, right? And living that is so peaceful. It's so peaceful. It's so peaceful. It is. It's not you going out knocking on nobody's door, trying to get them to come to your church or, whatever, the Jehovah Witness. I used to get so frustrated. No, I don't want your book. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's not about me trying to get you to do what I'm doing. It's about me trying to help you find your space, how you move, what make you comfortable, what makes life livable for you. And for me, it's not eating another man's flesh. It's not me celebrating the fact that the government that gave me this book, they say the victors write the history. Who writes the history? The winner, right? That's the history. How is it that this story is about him, but you ain't got nobody in his family that wrote a book? So this a book a whole bunch of other niggas wrote about him, sifted through the government, who lie to us about everything. And I'm supposed to take it and every Sunday just sit up under it. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. No, I'll go to the God in me first.
Yeah.
I choose this one.
Definitely. And it's definitely willful ignorance. And I want to touch on this. You said the virgin is an unmarried woman. So does that mean that is it the virgin is an unmarried woman, or are we suggesting when we lay down with someone, we have now entered into a marriage with that individual?
You about to make me grab this book down.
I'm trying to get people to think though.
But again, this is what I'm saying, reasoning, right? In Jamaica, they call it reasoning, talking, right?
Yeah.
Can be. It can be. You got to look at who wrote the book, in what time, what language they were using, what that language was translated into, what that language was translated into, what that language was translated into. Also find it funny that Christianity was in Ethiopia way before it was colonized and changed. But our Bible different from theirs. You know, I wonder what they Bible say. So again, it could be all these different ways. It can be, but give yourself the space to ask these questions.
That's
Instead
all.
of tying yourself to something, because I asked my mother once, who do you think is more evil, God or Hitler? Hitler. But he made that nigga knowing what he was gonna do. Right? Am I wrong? Did I go too far?
No, you're not.
Okay.
He's still an expression of God because the source energy fuels him.
In everything, there has to be a balance. Okay. Yes. There has to be, in order for us to understand the light, we have to understand the dark, because without the darkness, you won't see the light. Okay. It's all, I just get so frustrated with them, but I'm praying that my spirits touch me and bring me calm. Because if I said, I can debate my mom about it, but other people, don't bring it to me, baby. Don't come find me, baby, okay? You'll be wasting your time. You'll be wasting it, because I'm going to use that same book to beat your ass, okay? I know how to use the Psalms.
So let's talk about baptismal real quick, since we was talking about rituals. So you have to be born again through water. So I'm dead and I'm born again into what? You see what I'm saying? See, I don't agree with none of my children. My first son has been christening. He had a christening. The other two have not. I don't encourage them to be baptized. And I'm going to just put that there without giving any further explanation, because the prior thing that I said prior to that, you can draw your own conclusions. See, we willfully go through these rituals. And it's really crazy when you unwill. It's just like you can willfully let a murderer into your home. They might appear nice. You know what I'm saying? Come on in. You did. Despite whether you knew if it was a murder or not, you invited it in. You're in an agreement. You're in agreement when you allow someone to baptize you. You're in agreement when you take communion. You're in agreement when you worship the murder of this man. These are agreements. And the fact that you are ignorant to what you're doing is irrelevant, because all they need is a yes.
That's it.
It's only through music can they bypass your agreement. I think that's the only tool that they can infiltrate. And even that's still, you're giving them an agreement, a permission, if you continue to listen, even if you're ignorant of what's being said. So I just think it's important to bring attention to these things, and to the Jehovah Witnesses. Listen here now. Y'all hitting people upside the head with these books in the Kroger parking lot. I think y'all slowed down lately. I think people are waking up, but I understand that we want to give people God. It's not about giving people what our beliefs. It's about exemplifying what God is. Yeah. So if you don't care about how your brother is feeling, you can't come up to me and ask me how I'm feeling. Look, you seem a little down. What's going on? Is there anything I can do? You're not trying to work in your community or do anything. And I'm not putting anybody on the cross who isn't, because of the way we function in today's society. I get why everybody is so individualistic, and we do what we can, those of us that are aware. But what I am saying is, if you cannot do these things, simply care for your brother, lend them a helping hand when they need it, please don't offer me your God, because it's null and void.
And if your God is so good, keep him. You said something that was just so perfect, right? I've had more people since I left the church tell me about the God that they see in me. Oh, when you spoke to me, I saw God in you. And Okay. Because I understand that that's a language that you understand. I take it for the compliment that it is. Right? More people wonder something changed about you. What is it about you? You're so different. Okay. You know, I can show you what I did. I can tell you what I did, but my journey not going to be your journey. All I can do is exemplify the best of me and hope that you find the piece of you and exemplify that. If your God is so good, serve him to the best of your ability. Serve him so well. Show the world how great your life is, and the people who are supposed to follow will just do that. I don't have to. I don't have to go to nobody's house with my candles or my Palo Santo. None of that. None of that. No, I don't even want to do that. I don't, because not everybody's supposed to walk my walk. They not. If it's so great, why did the ancestors have to be beaten, raped, murdered, lynched, babies cut out of women's bodies, hair taken off their heads to stuff furniture, teeth ripped out their mouth to make dentures? Why did he have to do all that to get me to see his greatness?
Mm. Shanana.
And I'm not, again, I don't want to be offensive. I'm just asking questions. That's it. I'm just asking questions. If it's so great, you live that life and you show me how great it is, right? And by the changes that you make in the world, then I'll be curious enough about it to come and see it. But I'm good. Don't push it off on me. Don't give me your hell, especially when you please people start studying hell before you condemn another person to go there. Okay. Understand that hell ain't no hell. It's not. We in hell. We in hell.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's something
And you
gonna
full of hell,
burn.
wishing hell on other people.
Exactly. An eternal fire that's gonna burn everything. Okay, well, the flesh is the matter. It's the only thing. So if I die and I leave this vehicle, what the fuck is burning? What's gonna burn?
Your ignorant ass mind on
Ignorant
that
ass
foolishness.
mind. So stop wishing stuff on people just because they're not stuck in the same loop you stuck in. Like, it's crazy. Look up Gehenna, right? Start there with the hell conversation to figure out when it was put there and why I ain't never talk about hell in the Old Testament. Study when it was put there. Ask what that shit is. And what did the person who put that in place have to gain?
Mm.
Fear. Making people fear something makes people move in certain ways, makes people move different. I mean, we just saw what fear did to the world. Right? You make somebody afraid of something, you can get them to do just about anything. Okay. So now, not only am I afraid to burn, I'm afraid to burn for eternity. So you telling me somebody who love me, who know I'm a fuck up before I fuck up is gonna burn. Imagine you cutting a stove on and telling your son, don't touch this. Right. And then he touch it and you say, I told you not to touch it. And then you take his hand and put it down. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
hold it there for fucking eternity. Like, yeah, I'm good. That person you're worshiping sounds nuts. Like, it's
Yes.
nah.
That shadow side is shadowing.
It's shadowing. It's shadowing, and the ignorance is ignorant. Okay. I hope that in the people that we're offending, I hope that, which is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to just put the spark there. So you ask the question, right? And if you're afraid to look it up for yourself, go ask your pastor.
Ooh, he gonna cuss your ass out. That's gonna be the first time you hear him cuss, honey.
Go ask him. Go ask him, because if he went to theology school, it's a lot of that stuff that he already knows.
Yep. And also I think it's problematic. I've said this before in the previous interview I did. I think it's problematic when you put titles. Like, I'm not going to give myself a title. When I say title of like a leader, because leader, teacher, but definitely leader. Because I feel like after a while, you know, with power comes corruption. It's only a matter of time that ego gets egoing, you know? And even though the ego is necessary, it can start to just take over and go off the deep end. And so you set yourself up for failure. And this is why I feel like so many ministers are caught with their pants down, because they're taking on a position they weren't meant to take on. You wasn't meant to stand over nobody in the pulpit. Y'all can read, damn it. We are told by y'all, the elders, what was it? Believe nothing what you see and half of what you hear, or believe nothing what you hear and half of what you see. But y'all could sit up and let somebody else tell you something every Sunday and Wednesday, and you believe it.
And Friday and Saturday
Yeah.
evening. I
Some
used
of
to
y'all
be
living there.
okay. But
Let's talk
again,
about it.
how do you get somebody to believe something? The belief is in the repetition,
There you go.
right? Hearing it over and over and over again. I even remember certain people saying, question everything but God. Well, if God gave me my mind, you know what I'm saying? Like, goodness. I just hope
It's
that
wild.
yes, it is. And it's, for me, it's uncomfortable. It is. And again, I'm only speaking to this religion because that's the one I grew up in. And it's crazy because I see myself, um, let me not say I see myself. I've had many readings. I had a bone reading by this one woman. It was powerful, okay? And a bone reading is where she has like curios and bones and different things. And she shakes them up and she throws them out on the mat. And she can, by where the things fall, she can tell you things about yourself. And she was on point with a lot of stuff. Listen, she was on point with everything she said. I ain't gonna hold you, but it was something that she said in that bone reading that stuck with me. She told me that I walked away from the religion of my parents. She said, but because of your bloodline, you have to have a practice. She said, you can either choose one or you can make one for yourself. She said, but now is the time for you to make that decision. And I sat with that for a minute because I even read a book by The Parable of the Sower. If you ever run across this book, read it. Parable of the Sower, powerful book. But a little girl, I want to say it's a trilogy. It might be 2 or 3 books. Octavia Butler, I want to say, or Spencer, it might be. Octavia Butler. And the little girl makes up her own religion. And I thought about that for a minute. I start writing notes like, okay, what am I going to do? I'll take a little bit from here, a little bit from here, whatever speaks to me from here. And then I'm like, no, this is too chaotic. I start making notes and writing notes. And if I could make a religion for myself, again, it had nothing to do with nobody else because the relationship is supposed to be personal. Because of the nature of my personality, I'm like, no, I don't want to make my own religion. And again, with any reading, you have a choice. So I did. I sat with it for a long time. And because I know, because of other things that she said in that reading, and things that were confirmed by other people, okay, confirmed, I know that I have to have a practice. I try to be mindful of not disrespecting people's choices. But the Christianity one, it really scuffs my boots when I hear people so stuck in it who refuse to ask the question. And I have to learn. I'm learning how to just let them be. I just can't wait for people to open their eyes. Stop letting pastor tell you what to think, right? Because God gave you a mind, okay? Speak that power over yourself. Wake up in the morning and when you say that prayer instead of praying to what they told you to pray to. I struggle with prayer for a long time because I used to ask, who am I talking to? Who I'm talking to? You know, like who I'm asking this stuff for. And it ain't nothing for free. So when I'm asking you for this, what am I giving you in return? Right? Ain't nothing free. I struggled with prayer for a long time until I started speaking to my family members that passed on. and I start seeing things move in my favor. Okay. Um, I know that I have to have a practice. And I want to respect people's choice. I just want them to ask the questions. Free yourself.
Man, that's phenomenal. You know what? We have really went deep here, and I want to save some for another interview because this right here, boy, this right here, this interview was crazy.
I feel like we
Interview
talking
was
in circles.
no, I don't. I feel like we have hit on so many things, and I really feel like in this interview, spirit came through and did what it needed to do. I really feel like the spirit took over in both of us and gave the message that needed to be given. I do. I feel like that. I feel so strongly about that. And I just want to clarify and let y'all know that like Melinda is very, very, very gifted. Her abilities are really on 1,000. It's funny. I'm gonna tell this brief story, and then I'm gonna let her tell you where to find her, the services she offers, and then we're gonna get out of here. But I want to say that so Melinda, again, like I said at the beginning, we went to middle school and high school together, and we were really close in middle school. High school, we started to develop our own friends. It's a bigger school, so you know other stuff is going on. And so we go to this event this year through somebody else that went to high school with us. And I'm like, Melinda? Like, and so we sitting next to each other. We're talking, I mean, it's just like, it's back again like it was. But we couldn't really kick it to the magnitude that we would have because of the event that was going on at the time. And so we exchanged numbers, and then I called her when I got home, and we got in this deep conversation like we always do when we talk. And so, I guess it was just put on her heart to read for me. And baby, that reading was, I can't even, it's phenomenal. You know what? I only know two people that read like this. And this is her and another lady that I'm going to have on this podcast as well. I'm going to have her. And then she hit me with the, okay, now you gonna do me a favor in return. You gonna read for me. And I'm like, what the hell? What the hell? You don't put me on the spot like that. But baby, I discovered that I have some abilities. I really do. I discovered that night, and I feel a lot stronger about them. You know what I'm saying? I feel a lot stronger. So that was just a blessing for me. And I say all that to say that Melinda, I think part of her is not only to give you the clarity that you might need, the information you might need, but she's also going to help you discover you and be comfortable. Like if there was any doubt in your ability, when you come across her presence, she gonna put you in that seat and show you through you being you. So that was really beautiful. I wanted to share that. And so, Melinda, I want you to go ahead and explain the services that you offer, and and where to find you at, and then we're gonna get out of here.
Before I do that, I want to say one thing about the reading that you gave me.
Okay.
Not only did the things happen, I believe we spoke about a lot of it earlier today. Not only did the things happen, the moment that you stop doubting yourself, right? Oh, and my body just started tingling. The moment that you stop doubting yourself and you just let that message come through, I felt it in my body. I felt you. Again, you have to open yourself to somebody for a reason. I was open to you. I trust you. I've been knowing you my whole life. Okay. But when I felt you, and I'm gonna use the word penetrate me, but I don't mean sexually, of course. But when I felt you penetrate me, right? And you let that message come through you the way that you gave it to me, I wrote down notes and I kept the notes with me. And when I met up with the person that you told me was coming, okay? And I went back to read the notes. I said, if this girl don't start reading for people right now, okay? If she does not start reading for people right now, okay? Oh, goodness. So make sure when I'm telling people where to find me, because I'm not even taking new clients right now. Like she's booked, but especially with work and everything. But when I am, because I know there will be a part 2 if they don't cancel me. They ain't got nothing to cancel. They don't know where to find me. But
you can't
if
cancel us, baby. We here to stay.
I'm here to stay, okay? And when I'm gone, guess what? I done planted seeds, okay? I planted seeds. She's out here. But I'm not taking clients right now. When I do open my books back up, I'll let you know. The services I offer, I do readings. I do readings. I do life coaching. I do spell work for people. But I more so like to teach people how to do it for themselves, right? Because in letting somebody do work for you, you do open yourself up to a lot of different shit. So I'd rather teach you how to do minor things yourself. I do those classes. I do tarot classes. And as of now, like I said, I'm booked up with the time that I do have, but it's because I did make my choice. I don't want to even call it religiously, but I have made my choice and I'm studying right now. And I'm teaching and I'm waiting for my initiation. So I don't really have the time. But when I do open those books back up, I'll definitely let you know.
Well, there you have it, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like this video or like the podcast if you're listening. Make sure you're subscribed. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter that'll keep you in the loop. I have this content that is powerful, but I have other content as well. And so I always update on that. If you want to be a guest, if you're listening and you have your story that you want to share, please reach out. The link in the info section should be RacqiRoadTV.com/network. That will take you down to a form, allow you to fill it out, and we will get you on the show. But I want to thank you so much for tuning in, you guys. Again, make sure you share this video. You have a wonderful and blessed week, and we will see you next time. Hey, you, let's keep in touch. Head on over to RacqiRoadTV.com/network. And when you arrive to the page, scroll on down to the prompt to lead you to subscribe to my newsletter. Enter your email, first name, last name, hit subscribe. This first button leads you to Racqi Road TV, and the second one leads you to Porch Talk. Sign up to be a guest on Candid Stories of My Soul or the Black Love group chat with this form. Here's how to get to Racqi Road TV YouTube channel through the browser, and how to get to Porch Talk YouTube channel from the browser. Yes, these are both my YouTube channels. Please subscribe to both of them. Until next time, toodles!